Welcome to the MTD Podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the evolution of workholding, and today I'm joined by three special guests. We're at the home of Hainbuch UK, and firstly we're joined by Nick Peter, Managing Director. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks very much, G. Hi, welcome.
And well, thank you for having us. Should I say?
Absolute pleasure. It's nice to see you here.
And you again, Nick. We've been seeing quite a bit of each other recently, and thanks for having us on site. Second, we were joined by our very own Lyndsey Vickers, presenter at MTD.
Thanks very much for that intro, Gio. It's so hot in here, isn't it?
It is red hot. The windows are wide open, so you may hear a little bit of interference. And soon we'll be joined by Dave Noakes as well. He'll be joining the show soon. But again, we've been travelling quite a bit, haven't we, Lyndsey? And we've been looking at lots of different applications, lots of different work holding solutions, lots of new innovations. And today we just thought that we need to take the opportunity to do a podcast from Hainbuch UK, because we've looked at some of the products that you've got in your showroom, Nick, and we believe that they lend themselves to milling applications as well, not just turning applications. And we believe as well that maybe there is a perception that Hainbuch is just for turning. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think the history of the company starts from a turning perspective, well, a multi-spindles perspective, actually. But the stationary work holding that we do came on a lot later. And to be honest, it's just as important as the rotary work holding section that we've got, because it uses a lot of the elements exactly the same. So as long as you've got the base chuck, whether that be on a lathe or whether it's got a milling machine, and all the collets, all the interchangeable adaptions, all actually fit both base units. So it's a very flexible, adaptable system. But you're right, G, we've really only been known for our turning products, and the stationary side is really just as big.
And Lyndsey, what do you think about this? I mean, you've seen some of the products downstairs that maybe you wouldn't have seen before. Or
I think what it is you're just saying it's the evolution. And we say it with so many different companies at the moment, it's the evolution and everything changing, and how you've seen something, you see a problem, and now you're addressing it. And that's exactly what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, we the idea of the company is, and the system itself is that we solve work holding problems, and we provide a work holding system that's easy to change, accurate. You can hit it hard as you like, but it's the right work holding for the right job. If you can't change your work holding elements quickly, then you're going to tend to go with the work holding that's not quite right, but it'll do the job just around. But people are scattering microns all over drawings now, and people want to hit things a lot harder. The feed rates are harder. So people need to have the right work holding. And I think people's perception is that a three-jaw chuck does everything, but it doesn't do anything particularly well. It's sort of a do-all, catch-all thing. Whereas our system could be changed very quickly and will fit the part that you're trying to machine perfectly.
I think that was proven when we recently visited Park Rannoch in Sheffield. They use the modular heads where they've got the free-jaw chuck. They can put the collet chuck on, and effectively that solution there is fully automated solution on the DMG machine with the ABB robot. But the Hainbuch collet chuck system was the crucial part in that application, because it reduced and eliminated setup times. Now, I just want to go back one step, Nick. You said that the collets are interchangeable from a lathe to a milling machine. So that really does open up a lot of new avenues for end users that are currently using your work holding solutions on their lathe, because effectively now they could be using the same collets on their milling machines. Explain how this works and what products will be needed for this.
Well, we start the system with a base chuck, if you like, a base collet chuck, and that can be stationary or it can be rotating. So it's a base collet chuck, which collets get changed in and out of with a gun very, very quickly, very, very accurately. But those base collet units can then also have a three-jaw chuck adaptation put on them, which literally changes in a couple of minutes, and you've still got the accuracy there. It also takes mandrels, so you can clamp internally in bores, probably up to about 150 mil diameter. But we've also got face drivers, magnetic chucks, Morse taper adapters, any adaptation that you can think, all has a 0-point system on the back of it that can be put in and out of that base collet chuck very quickly, very easily, and you can change over to another job within a matter of minutes.
And would people assume it's just for round parts?
Not at all. Profiles, all sorts of triangles, squares, hexagons, weird and wonderful profiles can be used in the collet, because the collet itself has got quite a solid base that we can actually EDM or mill parts into. The customer can even do it himself in machinable collets.
And if you wanted to put it on a fifth axis machine, the Mannock, you could prep a billet if you wanted to, couldn't you, Nick? Larger than the capacity of the collet.
Absolutely. We've seen people prep 250mm billets with a 65mm spigot on the back and grip it in a 65mm chuck and machine around a 250mm billet, which is quite a simple thing to do on a lathe, but then when you're trying to do it on a mill, that's quite a difficult piece to hold.
Yeah. And Lyndsey, you was looking at the clamping mechanism and the clamping testing kit that was downstairs as well. I mean, that's kind of quite...
Yeah, you're kind of bringing it into the 21st century again, aren't you? So what's that all about? How does that work?
Well, clamping pressures have always been a little bit of a guess. It's a little bit of a black art workholding. There's a little bit of black magic involved in it, and people always guess how much pressure they've actually got on something. And it's really important to know what pressure you're clamping on something, so that A, it's not going to suddenly come out past your ear, or it's not going to deform it, collapse it, or something like that. To make sure you have got the right pressure on the machine, you haven't got too much pressure on, perhaps it's going to break apart or something like that. So it's important also for health and safety that pressures are monitored, so that you can actually put it into any work holding device that you've got and measure that pressure exactly, so that you know what it is and you can go back to it if anything changes at any stage.
Can you explain to the listeners exactly what it is, and explain to them what the product is and what you're using?
Yeah, it's a testing device that actually has strain gauges actually embedded into a head, which is then got complicated electronics in it. But it's actually then connected to Bluetooth that goes to a program that is our patented program. So you can actually monitor pressure perfectly all the time, depending on what you're going to put into it, whether cylinder or manually. And then you've got to know exactly what the pressure is all the time.
Is this kind of a step into Industry 4.0 from Hainbuch?
Yeah, it is, because it is Bluetooth compatible, so we can actually test that pressure stationarily or rotation. But also some machine manufacturers are starting to integrate that software in with the actual program on the machine itself, so that you can actually see what the pressure is actually in the program. So on the fly now, you can start to change pressure. So if you bore a part out, let's say, and you really need suddenly big pressure for the bar, but you want to lower the pressure slightly, you can do that on the fly now sometimes. Electric cylinders are starting to come in now a little bit, rather than have hydraulics, so you can alter pressures. Chucks are starting to be embedded with those same strain gauges, so that you actually know what pressure is actually on the part itself through the chuck, and it can all be monitored on the machine by the machine control.
So this is kind of going into the realm of Industry 4.0. Now we've clarified that Hainbuch is not just for turning, it's also for many milling applications, and varied milling applications at that, with the kind of modular aspect that it offers. So the next point I want to touch on really, Lyndsey, is automation. We were at EMO last year. It seems ages away now. It's nearly a year ago. And there was a lovely demonstration on the stand of a robot changing the collets over. So this takes it into a different kind of remit in regards to changing setups automatically and with a robot. Now that's changing the ballpark now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, again, a three-jaw chuck, it's very difficult to change a three-jaw chuck jaws over to other jaws, because you've got to undo bolts and all sorts of things. A collet can be changed over quite easily with our gun system. We just put it onto a robot arm, and then again it can be integrated in with the machine control.
You know what? Some of the best ideas are some of the most simple ideas. The way you've just said that, you're just using that gun, something like you would, and just taking the human out of it with a robotic arm. It's exactly, it's crazy.
It's only
really
doing the same as your fingers would do.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's so
just
simple.
Collapsing a collet, but all we're doing is putting that gun, if you like, onto an end of a robot arm and just making it pneumatically controlled. We've already got a pneumatically controlled gun. We just take the handle off it, bolted onto a robot. It's as simple as that.
I mean, it works perfectly, doesn't it? And I think what Lyndsey says is absolutely spot on. I think that the best designs are the most simple designs without a shadow of a doubt. A lot of products are so over-engineered and they don't even work properly at the end of the day. The products that Hainbuch offer are definitely very user-friendly, and it speaks for itself in regards to the kind of people that are using them. Now, Nick, during this period, we seem to be coming out of the end of this crisis.
We hope.
Hopefully.
We hope, Gio.
We seem to be on the road a lot more now, don't we, Lyndsey,
oh gosh,
sure?
yes. I think it's changed. Definitely, it's changed.
It's the new normal.
Yes.
How have you found it, Nick?
Yeah, I think we've been going since day one on this, really. We actually haven't stopped. We haven't had a day off or anything like that particularly. It's just the fact we had to change how we work. So we realised we've got to have somebody in the office to accept deliveries, things like that. But most other people now with technology, again, to be honest, have been working from home. So everybody, it's almost the only difference is you can't have a chit-chat with people. You have to contact them on the phone. But as far as the company's concerned, it works perfectly. We can all work from home. In fact, some people have already decided probably that's where they want to work, and that's fine. Some people's jobs can be done from home.
Yes.
So why not? As long as you trust those people, they can work from home, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Just to add to something, jumping across from a different subject, but we were talking earlier on because, of course, we've been filming some videos today, and the guys were both telling us about something that amazes customers and with clamping forces in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to go into this because I found it so interesting. So I want everybody who's listening to know as well.
Yep.
So hopefully maybe we'll do a swarf and chips on it to show people this proof that you explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple premise in some respects that you should grease things in engineering or oil things in engineering. Nothing works metal to metal unless you give it some sort of an advantage to slide over something else. And collets are no different from that. But we've known for some time, and it's something we really need to get out there now, that if you grease up a surface, and so especially collets, this is very prevalent too, grease something as opposed to not greasing it, you get about 30 to 50% extra clamping pressure out of that clamping device. And most people, when you tell them that, say, yeah, it can't possibly be that much. We know if you greased it, it'd be a bit better, maybe 5% or something. But actually, that's not true. Now, with our grip tester, we can actually see that the gripping pressure increase is between 30 and 50%. So jaws drop as soon as you say that.
So when you explained it to me, I said I couldn't believe it when you say about the centrifugal forces and stuff. So can you explain a situation to me of how not greasing is going to fail someone and how that can, if they do grease it, what they can do and transform it?
I mean, not greasing a chuck just means that you get less clamping pressure. So then, of course, you can't hit the bar or part as hard as you would like to hit it because it moves.
Yeah.
Because you're not clamping it so hard. And what tends to happen is people turn up clamping pressures then to make sure that the part doesn't move and keep doing it in the end. And then something gives in the end, and it's usually the draw tube adapter or something like that breaks and whatever. So it's important to grease it because then you'll do a better job. It holds the part more firmly, more accurately, and over a longer period of time better. You can use U-drills and things like that with better accuracy.
It's like servicing a car. You just need to service it and stay on top of it for it to work at its best potential.
Well, we have had customers say we didn't know you had to grease the chuck.
Yeah.
But then I guess that's the old man thing again, and not reading the manual before you actually use it.
Yeah, who reads manuals, eh?
Well, we were at Fluid Experts last week talking about coolant, and again, people don't top up their coolant, and the savings from doing so are just astronomical. And that kind of brings me on to another point. Workholding, I think, fits into that kind of category to a certain degree in regards to overlooked processes, or people don't realize the return in investments that they can get from acquiring the correct workholding. It's adding value to your machine tool, your process, and effectively reducing the cost per part. But too often it is really overlooked, Nick. Have you seen this on your travels?
Yeah, I mean, people will try and save money on things by actually using existing workholding, because to take a 3-jaw chuck off all the time and change it is it's not a nasty thing to do, but it involves a bit of time and a bit of effort. And if it's a heavy job, a bit of health and safety. So people don't like doing it. So they will cobble together. We've seen jaws welded up and things like that, anything to make a job sort of work. But it doesn't work perfectly. So it's better if you make the work holding easy to change and it's accurate or you can rely on it, spend that extra little bit of money and actually get the right work holding for the right job and get the job done properly. Otherwise, if you don't, somebody else will get that job and do it for you and do it at a cheaper price and get the work.
Yeah.
No, Nick. Thank you very much, Nick. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We're going to be joined now by David Noakes, Nick's partner in crime here at Hainbuch UK. So, Lynn, that was really interesting talking to Nick about some of the latest evolutions and the best practice in regards to using work holding.
Yeah. So, David, it's good to see you. The last time, well, not the last time, because we see you at shows and events throughout, well, not at the moment due to COVID, but we normally do open houses. But we saw you doing a Swarf and Chips. It was, how many years ago was that? 2?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, 18 months, 2 years ago.
18 months.
Quite a while.
It's good to see you.
Where's it gone?
Quick.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So how have you been getting on?
Well, it's adapting to the current situation. That's probably been the most challenging thing, really. Because, I've still continued to be out and about seeing the customers because, of course, we've had this virus, but engineering hasn't stopped.
What do you think? And this is going to be a bit controversial because just of us being out and about, and again, it's not down to work holding, but do you think that a lot of people are being busy with previous work that was coming in anyway, and then we will have a slowdown, but then we will pick up? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, this might sound a controversial thing to say, but our biggest orders that we've been getting since the lockdown have been through aerospace companies.
Wow.
Now, whether that's on work that was
previously,
ongoing, continuing work, I'm not so sure. But we've certainly seen, quite a substantial order off an aerospace company for blade work. So it's difficult to know.
Yeah, really. I think we just don't know, do we?
Difficult to know.
Yeah, but as long as we're ticking over and everyone's like, that we know that people are looking for new work, and we feel like there is a good vibe in the industry.
I think so. I mean, one of the strangest things because as Nick said earlier, we didn't stop. We were still going out, and at one point I thought I was the only man on the M1.
Yeah.
But of course, customers have still needed to see us, and of course, initially it was a lot of the ventilator work.
Yes. And
we were quite busy with that with one or two machine tool companies supplying machines and our work holding for doing the ventilator work. But things, that's obviously, been and gone now. And, it's not consistent. But having said that, we're finding most of our customers are still busy. There are still quite a few who have invested in new equipment, and, bravo for them in this particular time. And we're still out seeing customers installing. It is a challenge, obviously, to keep socially distanced and what have you, but we get there.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Dave. You don't look a day younger, by the way.
I know you're only saying that.
But no, Dave, great to see you, my friend. And I think, though, touching upon what Nick says and what we're talking about with Nick in regards to the evolution of work holding, we go into a lot of the state-of-the-art workshops with MTD, looking at some of the biggest investments in the industry, some of the latest innovation. And most of these machine tools have got your equipment on. You work closely with the OEMs in supplying the OEM
Very
with the equipment, and you also sell directly to the end users as well. But I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that what we've seen is the companies that have invested in the latest technologies to become more competitive are the ones that seem to be getting through this crisis. Would you agree, or is that something that we probably...
Sorry to interject, and please answer his question, but also what I'm picking up from yourselves and have done today is the fact that you know this industry. You're not just providing a product, but it's everything around it, and that's what I've got a feel from today.
I think you're right there, Lyndsey. And, we've got a wide customer base, making all sorts of different components for different sort of industries. So we're not particularly tied to one industry. We're covering a lot of different bases, really. And, I always say to my friends when they ask, every day's a school day for me. It's like going on a school trip.
Yeah. Some
of the places we go to. And, I do feel privileged to be able to do that. And, one of the nicest things, we've recently taken on an apprentice, Jacob, and it's just seeing his face when you go into some places. It blows his mind when, I forget my 18-year-old self, but, him, because he's so keen and what have you, it really gets your enthusiasm going again. Mm. And, it's been a privilege to do, really.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Are you enjoying working with Jacob?
Yeah, he's a good bloke. And he's enthusiastic. He's willing to learn. And, he has surprised me a couple of times. I've said to him, because when we install these things, we often have to do a little bit of on-site training, because everybody goes to bed and forgets it the next day and what have you. And I've sort of said, I've sort of preempt him a little bit, but I've said, look, you do it. And he's picked up the baton and ran with it.
Are you a good teacher, Dave?
Meet Jacob, you know by it. I was going to say, ask Jacob.
You better ask Jacob. But no, he's been a good lad, and so far so good. And let's hope he keeps up his enthusiasm, because it enthuses us as well. As old farts as such.
So getting back.
Can we say that?
Getting back onto
you
the
say whatever you want, David. Careful, no swearing.
Getting back onto the work holding, Dave. Again, we go into a lot of shops, and predominantly on lathes, we see Hainbuch collet chucks, and they're very modular. Whether you want to put an expanding mandrel on there or a free draw chuck, so they're modular and versatile. And again, I'm gonna state the point. A lot of the companies that we've been to, Lyndsey, are using Hainbuch, and they can't praise it enough because it's saving them setup times, it's saving them time in so many different ways, changeover times, quality of part. There's so many different savings that they get from that. So effectively, it's reducing cost per part. Now, give us some examples, Dave, of if they weren't using your system, how much further down the road would they be? How less competitive would they be?
Well, massively so for a lot of customers. I mean, we've got a particular medical customer in Sheffield, and they have embraced not only the rotating, but the stationary stuff as well.
For milling machines?
Indeed, yeah. And, it's the interchangeability, not just of the components, but of the collets and what have you that they've embraced. And, you look at most of the turning machines and most of the milling machines, and they've all got our stuff on it.
But what I can't understand, sorry to interrupt, Dave, I really can't understand it. For me, if I was an Hainbuch user and I was using Hainbuch on my lathes, I would just automatically and naturally be using it on my milling machines as well. It's just a no-brainer for me. It works. Why aren't they? Sorry to put you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot. Well, it could be my failing, in not...
Oh, no, I don't think it's that in any way, shape or form.
I think there is a mindset that we are just turning. And, you can tell people till you're blue in the face that, hang on a minute, you can do this on a machining centre. But sometimes it doesn't compute.
Do you think if we did some videos to prove the pudding, would they work?
Probably ought to, yes.
There's a good lead in. There you go.
The key is the interchangeability. I mean, all the modular products that Nick's already talked about, you can use them on your stationery as well as your work holding. So in real terms, your cost is less.
Yeah, I think for me, the reason being, in my opinion, is because it's been sold and it's worked so well on lathes. People have just got that mindset of it's for a lathe because they see a collet chuck effectively. They don't think out of the box, and they think they've got, a perception, right? A vice is for milling, a chuck is for turning, and they can't have that foresight to maybe think out of the box like we discussed today.
But that's the same with everything, Gio. Every single video that we do is any company that is trying to promote something. It's all about education. That's all it is, because, everyone is continuously, we talk about the evolution, but you as a company are specializing in what you do, so you're ever evolving, and it's just educating people that you have got something new or a different area that you are still specialist in. And I think that's the whole thing. It's just educating people on something new, something different, and opening their eyes to a different area.
I think we need to do a technical corner on this then, Dave, because I think it's just such a fantastic solution for some fifth axis applications, free axis applications. It really does work perfectly.
Yeah.
And it gives you the modular aspect of holding the round parts on a milling machine if you wish to do so, or even big massive billets larger than the holding capacity of the collet chuck. So it would make for a fantastic video. So we'll definitely create a win-win.
There you go. Videos coming soon.
Win-win scenario.
Yeah, that's something we've got to do.
But no, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm just going to kind of round this up. It's a shame. It's been fantastic. But again, do you think just to finalise and just to wrap this up, do you think workholding is overlooked still? And
how and why?
Is it overlooked? I don't think it is, to be frank. I think, buyers now, people buying a machine tool, they're quite well educated. They know what they're looking for. It's a bit like us when we're buying, a white goods or something. We almost know what we're going to have.
The information is out there.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And, we're very well known out in the marketplace. But like you say, predominantly for turning. But no, I think people are pretty clued up these days in what they want, and they know the Hainbuch is, apart from it's predictable, it's accurate, it's a premium quality product. They also do see the interchangeability part of it as well. The going from a chuck to a collet, internal, external clamping. It's.
Yeah. Well, we've got some fantastic visits lined up soon at some big end user companies across the country with Hainbuch UK. So really looking forward to them, Lyndsey. And I think that they will be an education and will definitely kind of illustrate to other people the different ways in which Hainbuch can be used. It's been an absolute pleasure today. Lyndsey, any last thoughts?
No, I just need some air conditioning unit because it is so hot at the moment, isn't it? So everyone can, anyone listens to this, they'll know the period of time because it was just that week of heat and thunderstorms when this podcast was filmed or recorded.
It's been tough. We need a drink. But thanks for listening to the podcast. If you've got any reviews, comments, please get in touch and let us know. But until next week, the MTD Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on MTDCNC.com.